Hi, and welcome to the Branch and Bloom podcast. I'm Jessica.
I'm Christina.
And you have come to the place where heritage takes root and families flourish. And talking about flourishing families, today we are digging into chronic illness and our personal chronic illness journey. I think this must be something a lot of people are dealing with.
I'm not surprised, sadly.
I know, because it does seem like in our personal lives, we're talking with a lot of people who are dealing with similar things. So we're going to talk about sort of our history, a general overview. We'll talk about our diagnoses and kind of what we're doing to help. None of this is medical advice. You're going to have to talk to your own doctor. We are not doctors.
This is just our experience.
Yes.
And we have a lot of things we've experienced.
I know. This week I have actually felt really good. I had run out of my T3, and I'm on
What is T3?
Thyroid replacement, essentially. My body doesn't convert the thyroid hormone well. And so I started taking that again, and they're getting ready to up my dose a little bit because mine's still staying pretty low. And that has been actually, it's a Band-Aid.
Yeah.
It's not it's not a fix, but that has helped me not feel like I need to nap.
That's great. That's great. I am also on hormone replacement therapy for thyroid because mine's a little more extensive, but I have the same experience. If I don't take it, if I forget or something, I will feel very nappy.
Yeah. Which is this is a nice time of year to like want to take a nap, but it's different like taking a nap by choice and feeling like you cannot make it through the day.
Right.
So I'm really grateful for that. That's been a big deal for me this week. Let's talk about our history because our sweet friends here are probably also, some of them, dealing with some of the same symptoms that we had. And this is not to say that everyone's diagnosis is going to be the same.
No, surely not. Or symptoms, because this is chronic illness is a vast expanse.
As we discuss what we were diagnosed with, it can kind of sound like, oh, you're just listing every symptom in the book and then calling it that. I don't think that everyone's going to need to treat it the same way.
No.
In fact, we know people personally who have taken different paths with the same types of issues, and many people have been able to
flourish.
Yes.
Well,
we're going to not go into a lot of depth here because it could get long. But if you have more questions, just drop them in the comments, and we would love to do a Q&A that directly addresses your questions at another time.
So when I was a child, I had the typical allergies. I had some asthma issues. I did have fatigue for a child and migraines. I would say those were the primary things I had. And then as I got into my teen years, I could not gain weight. I was very thin. And not just thin, but like you could tell I just was not gaining muscle.
Class beanpole. She was voted class beanpole.
I had a really hard time focusing in school, even in elementary school also. But then in high school, especially, I had a really hard time staying engaged, not just staying engaged, but just focusing in general and retaining information. And I never thought of myself as like, well, maybe I had a learning condition, like a learning disability or something, because it was inconsistent. And as I got into my adult years, the allergies really came back with a vengeance, and the asthma, then also the weight. I had some weight issues, and I was having babies, but I was able to get pregnant, praise the Lord. But I was not gaining weight, and I was having extraordinary fatigue. And then I started having some, I wouldn't have called it depression at the time, but it was definitely depression when I look back at it. It seems like it was cyclical almost, where I have some symptoms consistently, but then it would really flare. And when I reached about 30, I had a really pretty extensive flare. Thought it was allergies again because I was having some really strange hives and welts. These would be odd, like my lip would swell or my hand would swell. I went to have allergy testing done, and the doctor said, I think it's your thyroid. Sure enough, it was my thyroid, and I had Graves' disease, which is hyperthyroidism. And Graves' disease is actually the autoimmune condition that goes along with hyper. I had a lot of insomnia. I had a lot of fatigue. But what I had was a lot of muscle weakness. I had a hard time walking up the stairs. I knew this was getting like something was wrong. So when I was diagnosed, they treated me with medication, but they could not control it. And there were options. I could have it removed. have my thyroid removed or have it radioactively ablated, which is where you take a pill that's radioactive and it basically just kind of disintegrates your thyroid.
And this was at the time when functional medicine was not something anyone had access to.
I had no idea. I didn't know about food sensitivities, didn't know about anything. I didn't know any other alternative. Yeah, kind of like if I knew then what I know now, things would probably look very different.
You might have made different choices, but you made the choices that you made.
I did,
with the knowledge that you had, which I think is important to just to say, might I have chosen differently? Maybe, but I'm not going to beat myself up about it.
Exactly.
That was the information I had at the time.
Yeah, this is where I am. And so I did treat it with medicine, the hyperthyroidism, for about 3 years, but my symptoms were getting worse. I was ending up going to the emergency room thinking I was having a heart attack at like 33, 34 years old. So I did do the radioactive ablation and thought, okay, this is going to take care of that. Okay. And actually that sent me on a trajectory of a lot of other issues.
Hypothyroidism.
Then I was hypo, and so I'm forever on medication, and my body does not convert T4 to T3. I had the weight gained about 20 pounds, more anxiety, still was having fatigue, but I was having other strange things like I had fibroid cysts, and that really ramped up. And then go into my 40s, and actually those cysts got so big that I had to have a hysterectomy. That set me into menopause a little bit earlier than I may have otherwise. So I'm kind of just chalking all this up to hormones and the thyroid. And that's it. I got through menopause. I did start taking hormone replacement therapy, but things got pretty severe. I had a lot of inflammation, not just like my joints and the pain I was feeling. And it wasn't just like typical arthritis. It was different. And I don't know how to describe it exactly. I had a lot of brain fog. I was having extraordinary memory issues. So much that I was telling my husband, something's wrong. Thinking it must be menopause, because you hear about brain fog and these things, but it was so extreme. It was so much more than that. So I was swelling, but I was also feeling, I was very inflamed, like I was red. My face would all of a sudden get really red. It was red and it was very puffy.
My retention
fluid retention. I couldn't even squat down all the way because there was so much fluid behind my knees and in my legs and my ankles. Ended up even having a major surgery on my back. Gained another 20 pounds. And nothing's changing here.
All while exercising, eating whole foods, gluten-free.
Some junk in the, we're real people, so we eat our stuff.
Cookies,
but for the most part, like no sodas, trying not to eat after 5 o'clock. Nothing added up. Nothing really made sense. But I started getting very, very ill. I just thought, well, I'm just going down the path of poor health, aging. My mother had a lot of the same things that I'm dealing with. And I thought, well, it's just genetics.
And before we give our diagnosis, I'll give my story because the way our paths arrived here is a little different.
Yes.
My first loud symptom happened in my late 20s. I started having gallbladder attacks. It was so severe that I would be bedridden for hours every evening.
After a meal.
In excruciating pain. I went in to the doctor, ordered an ultrasound, and you could tell that my gallbladder was having a really, really hard time. Now, knowing what I know now, if I had known that then, I might have chosen differently. But at that point, I chose to have my gallbladder removed. And I have not had actually like the other big symptoms of like bowel issues or anything. My body has functioned well as far as my bile flow still seems really good. In fact, when I tried to take extra bile, it gave me a stomach ache. So my functional doctor is saying probably your bile flow's pretty good now. So,
and you didn't do it immediately. You did wait.
I waited months and months. But I couldn't function. And I think you get to a point with things like that where it's just like, I can't function. Like I have 4 children.
Right.
I have to be able to function. And so that was just a sign. Now I know, my liver was being like, whoa, toxic overload, trying to filter too much. And likewise, I had eaten paleo for many years. Yeah. So that was my big loud symptom. Then in about 2018, that was when I started having more intense like mood issues and panic attacks.
And you couldn't eat beef. Remember that?
Oh yeah. Food sensitivities. Yeah. I also started gaining weight.
Mm-hmm.
I had lost all my baby weight. Mm-hmm. That just hadn't been an issue for me.
It could have been a normal time of weight gain, but it was
sure.
It was
if it was pace. A certain amount, it was so quickly. I gained about 25 pounds mm-hmm. in about a year and a half.
Mm-hmm. Nothing, and with nothing changing.
No, with
no lifestyle habits.
No, in fact, thinking, I guess I need to button things up even more. Mm-hmm. I need to eat cleaner. I need mm-hmm. to, make sure I'm exercising more consistently, and it didn't stop it. And at that point, I was like turning 30-ish, and people were like, "Welcome to your 30s," and I'm like, "No, I don't think that.
I don't think that's what it is.
I don't doubt that I'm aging, but you don't wake up one day mm-hmm. and just all of your body falls apart at once mm-hmm. just because the calendar turned to the next day or year." Yeah. So then the panic attacks sent me into the world mm-hmm. for the first time, that I actually spent money mm-hmm. on functional medicine. I found a doctor online, did just telehealth visits with this doctor mm-hmm. and found out that I was low in minerals, vitamins, different things. She put me on some anti-inflammatory things like curcumin and vitamin D. I know that's very controversial, but it saved my life almost in a way.
Yes.
Because of where my brain was. Vitamin Bs, that did help tremendously. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. At that same time, or after that, shortly after that, some of my children began having these issues. Food would just get stuck, like an esophageal spasm. We took her in to actually get a scope, and everything looked fine. And that was the thing too. My blood work, they'd be like, "Looks pretty good.
Looks good. Everything looks good." Yeah, we heard the same story.
And I'm just like, and the only thing anyone wanted to do was prescribe me an antidepressant or mm-hmm. an anxiety medication. Mm-hmm. And I was like, listen, it may come to that, mm-hmm. but I'm telling you, my anxiety is a symptom, not the cause. I would tell my husband, don't worry, don't be anxious. Feels like saying, just don't have a runny nose. You caught this cold, but don't let your nose run. It said, it feels like it is happening to me. And I am trying to exercise self-control, mm-hmm. praying, mm-hmm. begging God for his help. And praise the Lord, he did help me. It was just, I could tell that it was like something. It wasn't an internal, I'm meditating on all these negative things and I'm just trying to take on so much that isn't mine. I did those things, of course.
Yes.
But not to the extent that would have caused the crazy panic attacks to where I felt like a different person. Remember when the kids would go, and it would send that shock in my body. I had to go take a nap. My body couldn't handle anything. So my kids, one had panic attacks at night, couldn't swallow food. One was having pain and could hardly walk down the stairs.
Young children. These are young children.
Yes, my kids were young at this point. Developed into a lot of IBS symptoms for one of my kids, and then one of my kids couldn't gain weight mm-hmm. And had more constipation.
Me.
It was this variety of things, eczema, food issues, but the panic attacks for my child, knowing mm-hmm. what that felt like mm-hmm. was huge. That was the thing that I thought, we have to figure this out.
Yes,
we can't let this child go on like this.
Right.
This is so dangerous. I know mm-hmm. how hard that was,
mm-hmm.
and I know how desperate that time
mm-hmm.
felt. And a child does not have the mental
skills. Mm-hmm.
coping skills
mm-hmm.
or capacity
mm-hmm.
to even know how to handle that. So you came across.
Yeah. I was listening to a podcast and I actually just looked up, I think, carnivore.
Yes.
So it was Michaela Peterson interviewing Judy Cho from Nutrition with Judy. And
funny enough, Mom's like, Jess,
I sent it to her right away.
Don't panic. It's okay. Maybe not. But just listen to this.
Yeah.
This might be what you and your kids are dealing with, because our symptoms were different, but they all got hit under this umbrella
of this chronic inflammatory
response.
Condition.
It's called CIRS, chronic inflammatory response syndrome. Don't look up with an S, because that looks like you're about to die.
SIRS is no. CIRS. CIRS. Chronic Inflammatory Response Syndrome is the technical diagnosis.
I listened to this podcast. Mm-hmm. My first initial response was tears, because I thought, oh my goodness, maybe this is it. We've tried so many things. We were about to spend tons of money to get like an HTMA, which is like a hair tissue mineral analysis,
a blood work
for my daughter, because I'm like, we've got to help this. We have to figure this out.
Surgeries even. You'd even done,
Oh yeah, we've even done like removed adenoids and like, yes. So for different children. This is all the kids. It gave me hope for the first time in a really long time that maybe this isn't just the status quo, that we're going to be baseline here forever.
And then you call me.
You. I'm like, Mom.
I said, what did you think?
I said, I think it's genetic. And so I think, what if this is what you're dealing with? Because look at your symptoms.
No, I don't. I'm not that bad.
She's not as self-aware of her symptoms. She's always written, but you've had it since childhood. I think that makes a difference.
I do too.
I had a very sick, like babyhood maybe.
Yeah.
But then as a kid, I feel like I was pretty well.
Yes.
I think that you've probably just like lived with it for so long that you're like, this is my normal.
Yeah.
Maybe you're listening to our story and you're like, that sounds like me. That sounds like my family. And I want to say at the outset, do we have a magic bullet?
Nope.
No, we don't.
Nope.
Are we a lot better than we were?
Yes.
Yes. So this is not a magic bullet.
And it's not an easy path. It's not like, let's just take this and this will be better.
And no judgment. You know what? You want to take the 5 or 6 or 7 medications that keep your cholesterol in line and your, heart going and your diabetes in check and all. You have to decide what you want to do.
That's right.
Each person gets to live like Grandma.
Oh, for sure.
She never would have done this. And she would have been like, give me all the Oreo cookies. I'm going out.
I'm not even taking the pills.
No, I'm going out feeling like I want to feel. I'm not going to take it if it gives me an upset stomach for a while.
Right.
I'm doing what I want and I'm going to love my life. Everyone's different. But let's get into a little bit about what this is in case you are like, hold on, I want to search this out. So what is CIRS? Chronic Inflammatory Response Syndrome. It's also known as a biotoxin illness because what happens in a person who has CIRS is that their body does not have the roadmap to get specific biotoxins out. It's based on genetics. You may be more familiar with like the MTHFR gene mutation that makes you not methylate well. Similarly, this is on HLA-DR. It's on the 6th chromosome. And these different gene expressions can make people unable to eliminate certain biotoxins. It's different depending on your gene expression. These genes can turn off, as all genes can. Like they can be expressed in different ways at different times. They can be turned on.
You can have the gene and it not be turned on. So it's not like, oh, well, if you've got the genetics, then that's it.
Right. There are actually some prerequisites. Those biotoxins can be mold, can be tick-borne illnesses, can be algae.
Algae, endotoxins.
Which is like sewer gas. The only way to know for sure what your biotoxin is would be with the genetic test. Some people just are not going to be able to afford that, do that. We did not do that for all of our children because it is a pricey road.
What's nice about just like a couple people doing it is, for instance, when I did my genetic testing, I found that both of my parents carried the gene. Their genetics were a little bit different, but they both had the biotoxin illness gene.
One was for mold.
And one was multi-susceptible, which just means like mold,
Lyme disease,
algae, red tide,
those kind of things.
Brown recluse spider bites, things like that. It's much more involved. And I have that one, but it hasn't, I'm still getting better. I'm still thriving. So it's not like, oh, a lot of people are like, oh, you have that one. That's the worst, the dreaded gene. But it's really not, and I'm fine. Not fine, but it's not
great.
Fine, I'm great. But it's not been.
You've been able to treat it.
I actually feel like I have really done great with treatments.
I'm
very pleased. And then you had the genetic testing done, which showed both of your parents.
I inherited it, which I suspect that these people are drawn to each other.
I know, we're like, it's like a pheromone. But anyway, it's an interesting theory because we know a lot of people where both the husband and the wife are carriers.
So I inherited mold-specific haplotypes. So like my body would do okay with, not that I couldn't get Lyme disease. It's just that my body would eliminate those toxins more so than it cannot eliminate mold. So who might have CIRS? It would be someone who does have the gene expression. and who has been exposed to their biotoxin that their body cannot eliminate.
Exactly.
Those two things have to be true.
Absolutely.
For you to have this actual syndrome.
Yes.
But what does CIRS look like? Because it can appear very random.
Yes, it can.
It can seem to be like, I don't know, you just have like
have
all these weird autoimmune issues. I looked up, I have sitting in front of me right now, a list of things that are frequently misdiagnosed. CIRS, this person likely has CIRS, but it's going to be misdiagnosed as these things. Chronic fatigue syndrome, fibromyalgia, depression and anxiety, allergies, hypochondria, attention deficit ADHD, irritable bowel, and PTSD.
Which irritable bowel can be on either side of that, because I've dealt more with constipation.
And then some of my people,
a lot of people deal more with the other extreme.
And I have not had really any of that.
Right.
What the studies are showing that 25% of the population has these genes.
The genetics.
Not necessarily CIRS, but has the gene possibility. So you're listening to us, you're like, okay, I have these symptoms, but who doesn't? Like everyone I know has chronic illness symptoms. Do I have CIRS? Is that what I'm dealing with?
Right,
do I need to do something about this? Right. I don't have $1 million to spend on genetic testing.
It's not $1 million, but
no, yeah. It feels like $1 million when there's a lot of you to treat. And it is expensive.
It is expensive because you're dealing with functional medicine, because sadly, I went to so many general practitioners and even specialists, and no one could tell me what was at the root of what was going on.
I have yet to talk to a Western medical doctor who really knows what I'm talking about.
Right. A lot of times they've never even heard of it, or they're not willing to help with the tests. I've tried to get some tests done that are just general tests, but because they don't understand the diagnosis, they won't, because it's linked to functional medicine.
Yeah. My insurance has covered a lot of the testing.
My insurance has, to date, covered maybe half of it. So it's just you just don't know till you get into it. There are ways to do this though, where you don't have to do the whole extensive battery of tests.
So
and you can know.
Let's talk about how they might find out.
Okay.
VCS test.
Yes.
Visual contrast sensitivity test. Is something developed by the Air Force. It will show you if the optic nerve is inflamed. And if the optic nerve is inflamed, you won't be able to tell, you won't have good visual contrast. So it's a simple test, vcstest.com. We will link it below. It's free for the first one. And then I think it's like $15 per test, or you can like group them and get a better deal. And that will tell you, is my optic nerve inflamed? If the optic nerve is inflamed, you're likely dealing with a lot of other nervous system inflammation. The other thing that you can do is there are 13 clusters that Dr. Richie Shoemaker researched and tested out and clinically observed. I mean, these are well-vetted clusters of symptoms. And each little box will have different symptoms in it, and you'll just check off the boxes. And if you fail the VCS test and you have 8 of the 13 boxes checked off, there is actually a proven 98% chance that you have CIRS.
Lucky.
Which is a bummer. I'll be honest. It's a bummer of a diagnosis.
It is. It's not the worst diagnosis, but it is a bummer.
But there is something that you can do.
Yes.
And you can look for a CIRS practitioner.
Yes.
You could get yourself educated through the CIRS group.
The CIRS group has a lot of great
Instagram page.
They are also CIRS patients.
Yes.
Yeah.
And they have done way more studying than we have.
Yes.
They have read the textbook. And so you could go to them. Nutrition with Judy Cho. She'll talk about different camps of how it's treated.
Yes.
And so, because there are different schools of thought on this, and we're not really purists either way. If you check both those boxes, and you have it, you find yourself a practitioner. If you feel like, I can't pay $400 an hour to a functional doctor, you could try to talk to your GP, see if they'll bite. I mean, give them the information.
And there are also things that you can get without a prescription or without a doctor, as far as binders.
Yes. What do I do? Number one, ideally, And this is hard to say because it's like, if you can't afford the doctor, it's very hard. We were in the process of building out here anyway, so it kind of worked out. But the best thing to do is get out of exposure. If you have a water damaged home, which you can find out based on your eyeballs, you can look around and see if it's water damaged. It can be hidden behind walls. So something that can be really helpful is to do it's like a Swiffer swipe test. It's called the Hurts Me Too. That's the cheapest option I have found that I think is actually going to be
a very accurate read. Yeah.
Don't mess around with air quality tests because those miss it. And everyone, I don't know how bad a house has to be before that to pick up, because I don't know anyone who is actually moldy houses that have not been picked up by that.
Right. They'll find
or Petri.
Yes. Yeah.
So this would be my number one recommendation as far as on budget. There's more extensive ones that you can look into. But this is just a swipe test, and it will test for 4 water damage molds that are very inflammatory to the human body.
Yes. So if it shows up that you have that, then I would say that's a good indicator that that's what's triggering your health issues. And then there are people who remediate. They'll rip out the sink, whatever they, wherever they feel like that's where the water damage. I remember we had a leak there. Like, oh, that's not good, or that's wood's going to rot. But you don't realize how,
like, the toxic exposure,
how detrimental the toxins can be that are growing there.
Right. So you can try to get out of exposure. If you cannot, you could get air purifiers. If moving and remediating is not an option, air purifiers, dehumidifiers, open up those windows. Get that fresh air in as much as possible. And then you would want to get on some form of a binder. Now, some of these...
Explain what a binder is.
Yes. If you're on, you may have heard of activated charcoal or things like that are a certain type of binder. What we want for these biotoxins is a binder that has the opposite charge of the biotoxin, because opposites attract. So charcoal is not one of those. That might help eliminate other things.
It might help other things, but not biotoxins, basically.
Sure, it might open up the pathways a little bit.
Yeah.
But the 3 binders that are really studied and recommended for CIRS would be 2 that would have to be prescribed. And they are old cholesterol meds.
That are not statins. They're not
statins. They are bile sequestrants is what they're called. And they're essentially grabbing the junk out of your bile and helping you to eliminate it into the toilet. And that would be cholestyramine and Welchol. If you cannot get a doctor to prescribe that, that's okay, because there is another binder that is totally natural. It's okra and beets combined, and it's called Mycobind. It's called Mycobind. You might do well to get on some fish oil.
Yeah, definitely fish oil. You need to be on...
Make sure that your bowels are moving daily, because that is how we eliminate those biotoxins. Magnesium is great for that. If you've gotten out of exposure, if you've taken the binders, if you've kind of like looked at your minerals and you're making sure that your minerals are in good standing, and you're still like, I feel really, really crummy. I don't feel like I'm getting better. You might want to look into Lyme or other tick vector-borne co-infections.
Yep.
And that's what you've dealt with, and one of my children as well. And so we're in the process of treating that. You can treat that herbally.
Yeah. A lot of this can be done herbally, and that, I mean, is much easier on the body than some of the other options.
Let's talk about foundations, because what you can never out-supplement a harried lifestyle.
Oh, right.
So sleep.
Yes. Do
what you need to do to get restorative sleep. If you got to take some melatonin.
I was on a sleep apnea machine for a time. It's only been since I was treated for about 8 months. I was under treatment for about 8 months, and I was able to get rid of my CPAP machine. But I needed that. I was not sleeping. It was bad when I had my test. It was pretty severe.
Yeah. But magnesium will help you with sleep.
Yes. Unless you have something more obstructive. Yeah.
Right. But in general,
yes.
It will help you with resting.
Even melatonin, if you need melatonin.
Which a lot of people with CIRS actually are low in melatonin. Some people recommend a book, Break the Mold by Dr. Jill Krista.
Another great resource. Yes. We can link that too.
We will link that
in the notes
but in that book, she talks about people being low in melatonin, and she prescribes her patients high dose melatonin, which doesn't actually make you sleepy. Apparently, I've never tried it.
Interesting.
But it's a great like brain. It's like so good for the brain.
Interesting.
Yeah. And so there are lots of things that you could do to help yourself sleep. Get rid of your blue light at night. Mm-hmm. I'm guilty of this sometimes. Mm-hmm. Me too. It's like my chill out time. I watch a show. Yes. But it's best to not. Mm-hmm. When you wake up, try to get that sunlight in your eyes.
Eat whole foods.
The basics.
Try to get rid of the processed foods as much as you possibly can. And make sure you're getting plenty of protein. I think protein for the cells, because CIRS affects the mitochondria of your cells. So if you can think back to like high school, middle school science class, the mitochondria is part of the actual every cell in your body. And some people will call it biotoxin illness, mold illness, and mitochondrial disorder is another one that they'll call it, because this is affecting you at the cellular level. So you need to make sure you're really nourishing your body.
Yeah. That's the hydrating, energy producer. Eating. So that's where that fatigue comes in. But yes, so don't forget about those foundations. Mm-hmm. Now the foundations were never enough to get me out of CIRS.
Right. We did try that. We tried whole foods, hydrating, sleep, reducing stress,
cleansing breath, learn how to breathe.
Exercise to whatever degree I could, because the fatigue and the pain was pretty extraordinary. It was very difficult.
It's actually recommended for someone with CIRS to exercise, a woman specifically, for no more than 30 minutes for cortisol issues.
Yes.
But good exercise.
A walk, a 30-minute walk.
Yeah, some weight training.
Yeah.
That kind of
whatever
thing.
your body is able to do.
So if you have been hanging out with us today and you're like, I think I have CIRS. First of all, you're not alone.
Right.
And it might feel overwhelming. It might feel hopeful. There are a lot of emotions that can come with it, but you're not alone. And you can feel better. You actually can. You've been dealing with these things.
We are a testament to it.
Yes. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Are we perfect? No. Have we followed the protocol perfectly?
No.
And we're still getting better. Mm-hmm. We are still getting better. And this is part of the flourish of our podcast, and why that was so important to include, because as we have gotten better, our families have gotten better. We've been able to serve our families better.
Yes.
That's been huge. And we really want that for any of our friends who are struggling as well, because the most heartbreaking thing is to have to watch someone you love go through what was so hard for you.
Yes.
So that's why we're putting this out here. We don't want to diagnose everyone and say, oh, you definitely have what we have. But if it is something that sounds like, this sounds oddly familiar, a little too close to home, it might be something to look into. And if you need any other information, you can always reach out.
There are lots of parts and pieces to this, like the protocol, which is actually the treatment plan. There's blood work that can be done. There are other things that can help give you even a more clear answer to what you're dealing with. If you are interested in any of that in regards to CIRS, just leave us a message in the comments and let us know if you're interested, because we can go into more detail.
And today we're going to be linking below to the podcasts and a couple of websites that really helped us, that gave us this just a more robust understanding of what we were working with. And that might be helpful to you too. And that is our goal today, is to just be an encouragement and to give you hope as you are maybe healing, or maybe you haven't quite figured out what's going on with you yet. And you feel like you're kind of still on that downward spiral. So there is hope. There is absolutely hope.
Yes.
Okay, it's time for Stories of Home. And this week I want to talk about how I wake the kiddos up during our school year. I have curated a Spotify playlist, and it has instrumental music that starts off like with very soft and gentle songs, and then they get a bit more lively as I want people to be awake. So I've done this different ways. Either I pop it up just like on our TV and it's just playing through the house, or we have like a little portable speaker that I set by their bedrooms, and I crank that thing up till they're all awake. And I do this
rise and shine.
Yeah, I do this because I had a friend in high school, and whenever I would do sleepovers at her house, her dad played piano beautifully. And so when it was time for us to wake up, he would just start playing that piano. And that is how we woke up. And I loved it. Now, I don't know if my kids love waking up to this music, but I do love it. And so it gets them all out of bed.
They'll always remember it.
I know.
They will.
They will. And those certain songs.
Yes.
So I'm going to actually throw a link to that Spotify playlist.
That's a great idea.
In the show notes, so that if you want to listen to that in your mornings, you're welcome to do so. We'll be listening together.
Before we part today, we're going to leave you with some scripture to encourage you. So let me read this to you. From 2 Corinthians chapter 1, verses 3 and 4. Praise be to the God and Father of our Lord Jesus Christ, the Father of compassion and the God of all comfort, who comforts us in all our troubles.
We hope that you'll go, be comforted by the true comforter, and have a wonderful week. We'll see you here next time. Bye-bye. Hey! What's this called? Segment.
Oh, clearly I didn't write it down. Okay.
I did. In my brain.
Okay, good.